Henry David Thoreau was born in Concord, Massachusetts in 1817. He attended Harvard University, graduating in 1837, and later became a teacher. Throughout his whole life, Thoreau was a very independent thinker. This was reflected in his book, Walden.
I never found a companion that was so companionable as solitude.
In the early 1840s, Thoreau met Ralph Waldo Emerson, a writer from Boston and fellow alum of Harvard. And in 1841, he moved into the Emerson house with Emerson and his family. Emerson led the Transcendentalist movement, which was counterpoint to the Second Great Awakening in America. Transcendentalists opposed the Second Great Awakening's celebration of religious revival and unity in the church. They believed that organized religion and political parties corrupted the purity of an individual's thought, and that every man should understand the world on his own, and not through the eyes of those that came before him. Another of the core Transcendentalist beliefs was that man was inherently good.
Men are born to succeed, not to fail.
Many Transcendentalist values and ideals came from the ideas of Indian religions such as Hinduism. The Transcendentalist movement was very similar to Romanticism, which came out of the resisting of the rise of Enlightenment thinking, though Transcendentalism was less opposed to science and stressed a more personal relationship with God. Back in the Emerson house, Thoreau was inspired by Emerson's Transcendentalist thinking, leading him to build a cabin on Emerson's property on the shores of Walden Pond. He lived in this cabin for 2 years, doing yoga, playing the flute, and keeping journals, which he later edited into a book called Walden, or Life in the Woods.
Went to the woods because I wished to live deliberately, to front only the essential facts of life, and see if I could not learn what it had to teach, and not, when I came to die, discover that I had not lived.
Though it seems like he cut himself off from society, in reality he was only a couple of miles from Concord in the Emerson house, and regularly returned to town. In 1846, Thoreau was arrested for failure to pay his poll tax and taken to jail. He said that he didn't want to give money to the government to fund the institution of slavery and the fighting of the Mexican-American War, as he was morally against these. Against his will, one of Thoreau's family members paid the tax, allowing Thoreau to be released from jail. After he moved out of the Walden cabin, Thoreau began to lecture on his personal tax resistance and his belief of the role of government. He believed that government should have a very minimal interaction with society. The American government was particularly heinous to him due to its failure to abolish slavery. He later edited these lectures into an essay called Civil Disobedience, published in 1849.
If the machine of government is of such a nature that it requires you to be the agent of injustice to another, then, I say, break the law.
Thoreau's writing had a profound influence on other noted thinkers. John F. Kennedy and Mahatma Gandhi noted influence from Thoreau, and Martin Luther King Jr. said that reading Thoreau's Civil Disobedience was his first exposure to the idea of nonviolent protest. In his later years, Thoreau became an avid land surveyor and botanist. He was one of the few at the time to support Darwin's theory of evolution. In 1862, he finally died of tuberculosis. The thoughts, values, and ideas of Henry David Thoreau, Ralph Waldo Emerson, and the other writers and thinkers of the Transcendentalist movement would go on to influence countless people in the fight for civil rights, the development of the mental sciences of philosophy and theology, long after the deaths of the original Transcendentalist authors and speakers.